Hey everyone, I hope you have a great day. So, a pretty big story just dropped from Vermont, one that's been stirring up a lot of debate about politics, accountability, and what people say behind closed doors. We're talking about Samuel Douglas, a Vermont state senator who just resigned after a leak exposed some extremely offensive messages in a private Young Republicans group chat. And honestly, this one really makes you think about where we draw the line between private conversation and public responsibility. So here's what happened. Samuel Douglas was a young, first-term Republican senator from northern Vermont. He was actually seen as kind of a rising star, someone who might bring new energy into the state GOP. But that image took a major hit after the Washington Post published an expose about a Telegram chat involving several young Republican leaders across the country, from Vermont, New York, Arizona, and Kansas. Now, this wasn't just a few harmless messages. The chat reportedly went on for months, nearly 2,900 pages of conversation, and included racist, antisemitic, and even violent jokes about things like gas chambers, torture, and rape. It was bad, really bad. And Douglas was the only elected official in that group. According to the leaked messages, Douglas didn't just watch, he participated. In one exchange, someone made a comment about a man who dated an obese Indian woman. When another person corrected them, saying she wasn't Indian, Douglas allegedly replied, "She just didn't bathe often." There were also reports that his wife, who was also in the group chat, made anti-Semitic remarks too. Both of them eventually resigned from their roles in the Vermont Young Republicans. When I read that, I couldn't help but wonder, how do people in leadership positions, people who represent entire communities, still think that kind of language is okay, even in private? Is this a reflection of how they actually see the world, or just them trying to be edgy in a group setting? What do you think? Anyway, once the chat went public, things moved fast. Douglas released a statement announcing his resignation, saying he was deeply sorry for what he called an unflattering remark about a specific individual, not, in his words, a generalization. He said he'd been reaching out to his Jewish and BIPOC friends and colleagues to apologize and have honest conversations about what happened. He also mentioned that he and his wife had received a wave of online hate since the leak came out, something that, unfortunately, often happens in these public scandals. Still, the political fallout was unavoidable. At first, the Vermont Republican Party seemed hesitant to call his comments racist. They said his words reflected poorly on him, but they stopped short of full condemnation. That didn't sit well with a lot of people, including Vermont's Republican governor, who publicly called for Douglas to step down. Soon after, the state party changed its tune and supported his resignation. The National Young Republican Board also condemned the messages, calling them vile and inexcusable. But here's where it gets complicated and maybe a little uncomfortable. Some political figures, including Senator J.D. Vance, brushed off the outrage as pearl-clutching, suggesting the comments were just stupid jokes made by a young guy. That brings up a huge question. Are private jokes ever really private anymore, especially when you're an elected official? And should there be a difference between what you say in public versus what you say behind closed doors? When you think about it, this whole story is really about the intersection between digital culture and accountability. We all live part of our lives online now, in group chats, DMs, Discord servers, and we tend to think those spaces are private. But they aren't. One screenshot can change everything. And in politics, where image and integrity matter, that kind of leak can destroy a career overnight. It also shines a light on generational dynamics within the Republican Party. Many of the people in that group chat were in their 20s and 30s, the next generation of political leaders. So the question becomes, what kind of culture is being built among younger politicians? Are they learning to lead responsibly? Or are they normalizing hateful humor under the excuse of just joking? And beyond politics, this touches something bigger about society in general. We live in a time where private and public worlds overlap constantly. What people say when they think no one's watching can reveal a lot about who they really are. But on the flip side, do we believe in forgiveness? If someone makes a mistake, apologizes, and tries to make amends, should they get another chance? Or are some things just too big to come back from? It's not a simple conversation, but it's one worth having. Because whether you agree or not, stories like this show that leadership isn't just about what you do on the floor of the Senate or in front of cameras. It's also about who you are when the camera's off. As for Vermont, Douglas's resignation leaves an empty seat that will have to be filled soon, likely by another Republican appointee. But his departure also leaves behind a bigger question. What kind of leaders do voters want moving forward? Ones who take responsibility for their words and actions, or ones who shrug them off as jokes once they're caught?
So what do you think?
Should private chats be fair game when it comes to judging public officials? And if so, where do we draw the line? I'd really love to hear your take on this. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. And don't forget to share this video with someone who follows politics or loves a good conversation about accountability. Most importantly, subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of our weekly deep dives into the stories shaping the country right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.